Welcome to Beyond Imagination with Cheryl, Bryan. I'm so glad that you're here with me today. So excited about what God is up to in these days. We couldn't live in more exciting days. It's amazing. The more yielded we are to Him, the more we'll hear His voice, the more we will get to walk with Him, and really the more union between heaven and earth take place. And that's His will. He's like, let it be on earth as it is in heaven. And really His will is that it would be in us just like it is in heaven. So exciting. And let me just take you on my little journey about that. God spoke to me years ago and He said, Cheryl, Jesus spoke this to me. He said, Cheryl, read what I said when I said I would teach people how to pray. So I started reading it. I thought, well, we all kind of know this. It's something that we know, and we say, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be your name, your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And He stopped me right there and He said, I intend to do that. And I thought, oh my goodness. And He said, read that again. And I thought, your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And He said, you're the earth that I want to start in. Not that there isn't lots of people that are the earth that He wants to start in, but He was speaking to me and He said, Cheryl, I want to start within you. I want it to be inside you, just like it will be in heaven. I don't want anything in you that won't be in heaven. And I began to evaluate and say, okay, there's not any worry that will be in heaven. There's not any fear that will be in heaven. There's not any concerns, in heaven, there's fullness of joy. And at His right hand, there are pleasures forevermore. And when we stop and think, what goes beyond imagination? Well, pleasures forevermore is kind of outside of our imagination. We can't even imagine, what does that look like? What does it feel like for there to be pleasure forevermore? And real, true pleasure, the pleasure of knowing His presence, the pleasure of being in love with Him, fully yielded to Him, fully delighting in Him, fully manifesting who He is here on earth. That's the will of God. He intends for that to happen. And what He did is He slowed me down and He said, Cheryl, if a mother were to tell her daughter, I want you to pray for a pony, that I would get you a pony, a little Shetland pony for Christmas. And I want you to pray that every day. Pray that I'll get you a Shetland pony for Christmas. But she never intended to get one for her. She just set her up and said, pray this. Pray every day that you'll get a Shetland pony for Christmas. Well, if she didn't intend to do that, would that be a very mean mother? And I'm like, yeah, that's very mean. And He said, well, I'm a good father. And He said, I intend for it to be on earth as it is in heaven. And I intended for you to pray that in, and not just to pray that in, but to manifest that open heaven in your own heart and in your own life. He intends for us to become really Jacob's ladder, where heaven and earth are connecting all the time, always on earth as it is in heaven. God, in my heart, like it is in heaven. Let me get everything out of me that doesn't directly reflect who You are and what You want to do. And so that's a journey. That's a lifetime journey. And we all are invited on that journey. He's like, come on, let it be in your life, just like it is in heaven. And stop and think right now, what is in your life that can't go to heaven with you? So then you take a hold of that and you start saying, God, take this from me. I want more of You. I don't want to worry. I don't want to have concerns for the natural stuff. Jesus said, doesn't your Father love you more than the lilies? He takes care of them. He clothes them. Doesn't He love you more than the birds? He takes care of them. And there are many, many, many stories of supernatural provision in the middle of great difficulty. And I know that God is wanting us to come into a place where we yield ourselves so fully to Him that He becomes our everything. And Jesus wants to be our very source of life. He is living bread. He is living water, and he gives us the substance. The Bible actually says that if we'll lay down our lives, if we yield ourselves fully to him, if we walk with him, that he will renew our strength as the eagles. Well, eagles go through a molting process, and it's an amazing process. And they pull out all of their feathers. Not all eagles do it, just some eagles. And you want to go through a study on eagles. It's so amazing because they will go through when they get elderly and they start pulling out all their feathers, and they pluck off all their talons, and they break their beaks off, and their partner, they mate for life. Their partner protects them, gets food for them, takes care of them as their feathers grow back and as their talons grow back, and they grow new oil sacs. It's amazing, the journey of the molting of an eagle. Well, when an eagle fully dies to itself and fully molts, it can fly straight into the sun, and it has all these superpowers that they didn't have before they went through that dying to self journey. And it's really pretty beautiful and pretty amazing. And it's a picture of what God said that we could have. We could actually go into the place of really having resurrection life mount up within us. And that's that thing of walking like Enoch walked. He's like, how about you come up here? How about you quiet yourself? How about you be still and let me give you resurrection life? Christ in you is the hope of glory. And so we are living in these days that God is wanting to call us into that place where it would be in us like it would be in heaven, that we don't have anything that we just make an excuse for and say, this is just me, I'm merely human. No, you're not merely human. You were created from the divine plan to carry the divine identity and to have him living in you and living through you. And Neville Johnson is one of my favorite mentors. I absolutely adore the man. He's in heaven in the cloud of witnesses that surrounds us, right? He surrounds us, and him and the other cloud of witnesses. And Jesus went to the top of the mountain, and at the top of the mountain, he spoke with the cloud of witnesses. Jesus was our greatest example. And so he's telling us, are you not surrounded with the great cloud of witnesses? And they're cheering us on, and they're saying, come on, you got this. We did our piece, you do your piece. Let's see resurrection life fully manifest in and through God's kids here on earth. Jesus died with one intention and purpose. That is to break the power of every curse so that every one of us could absolutely walk into resurrection life. Jesus did it. And then he said, come on, follow me. Be my follower. Yield yourself that it would be on earth just like it is in heaven. And God's intention right now is to raise up a company of people that think from above. They don't think dirt world thoughts. The kingdom of God is an upside down kingdom. And he's saying, come up here. Let's hear what I'm saying, and let's go after the things of God. And really, even in the natural world, he'll lead you and guide you. He wants to take you above and show you what's going to happen. Jesus, knowing the thoughts and intentions of their heart, he would tell people, this is what's going on. There's a man under a tree. This is what's going on. I see what's going on already. God wants a group of people today in the dirt world that will live by the Spirit of the Spirit and actually manifest kingdom reality. It's beyond our imagination to be able to know the intentions and the heart of another man. And maybe God's calling you to live so close to him that you actually know what's going on inside of the other people all the time. And the question is, could you just love them in the middle of their struggle? Could you be like Jesus? Could you know what's going on in their heart and speak life to them and be full of kindness, full of mercy? And when you need to, like Jesus did, Jesus flipped over the money changers' tables, but that wasn't out of natural anger. That was out of righteous indignation. You cannot do this. This is not okay in the house of God. God's calling a people to really, truly love him at the deepest level and to be taken into a union where they're able to see beyond the natural. Our senses should be opened. How many of you think that we were created to use just a little fraction of our brain? Absolutely not. That doesn't make any sense. We were created with these amazing minds, these amazing brains. And at the fall, we were dumbed clear down to just a little capacity. But God is saying, come on, I want to open that up. I want you to be able to use, fully function the way I originally intended. I want the curse completely broken off. So we've got to get outside of looking at life from this little lens where we're seeing little tiny piece. We got to go into that realm of saying, God, you're awesome. You're beyond imagination. You can do anything. Let's do it. He's like, I want to co-create with you. I want to live in and through you and bring redemption to humanity. So we're living in days that really, really are going to manifest things that we've never seen. Throughout the Bible, it was seen maybe a little bit here, Enoch's life, Elijah, a few people with a few different talents and gifts and really spiritual walk that was intimate with the Father. Those people were precursors, predecessors. I don't know how you say it exactly, but they were forerunners of exactly what God intends and even more. And Jesus himself, it said that we would go above and beyond what he walked like here while he was on earth. Well, Jesus himself gave up his whole life, walked the perfect walk that God intended, and then burst out of that grave. And that's a pretty beautiful picture. So we have the right to walk in resurrection life. That's what he intended. He intended for, at the end of the age, a company of people that were really walking like Enoch walked, a company of people that were laid down lovers saying, hey, I'm all in, nothing else matters. I don't want to hold on to my own opinions. I don't want to hold on to my own agenda. I'm willing to lay it all down and say, hey, if you want that, that's what I want too. And it's a beautiful, beautiful time to be alive because resurrection life is our portion. And I'll tell you a little story. I was sitting praying one morning, early in the morning. And as I was seeking God, I was talking about my Grandpa Alan. And he had such miracles. There were times when every single person in the audience was healed of everything. And that was up to 18,000 people that would come to his tent meetings, come to his revival meetings. So it could have been 1,000 or not 1,000, could have been 10,000 or even 18,000 people that were there in the meeting where everyone was healed of everything. They took off their eyeglasses. They jumped out the stretchers. They jumped out of their wheelchairs. There are still churches that have wheelchairs and stretchers hanging along the wall from those meetings that Grandpa was in. Well, God's intention is to do that again and then much more. And I was praying and I was saying, God, we fast and we pray, we seek you, and we want nothing more than to lay down our lives so that you would be glorified and manifested here. And we want to see the miracles that Grandpa saw. And we've seen cancer. I've had amazing stories of seeing cancer healed, even having cancer speak out of people and yell out and say, I'm not leaving, I own her. And then it ends up saying, no, I'm not leaving unless you get the one out of her husband too. And just crazy things. Well, then it left and she didn't have cancer anymore. And that was quite an amazing story only a couple years ago. But I'm praying, I'm saying, God, in Grandpa's day, everybody got healed of all these diseases, of everything. And we see healings here, healings there. Maybe Graves' disease gets healed here and, just different things, but not everything all the time. And I was like, God, I don't understand. I don't understand why. Why did it happen so much in Grandpa's day? And we have all these people fasting, praying, seeking you, and really yielding their lives. And yet They don't see what Grandpa saw. And God spoke to me, and it was one of the most shocking things I've ever heard him say. And he spoke to me and he said, Cheryl, what you will see in your day will be as different of a peacock to a sparrow from what your grandfather saw in his day. He said that will be a sparrow, and what you will get to see in your lifetime will be a peacock. Well, I was so shocked. I was thinking, how silly is that? It seems ridiculous to think that Grandpa's day would have been a sparrow. It was definitely a peacock in our estimation. That was the most amazing move of the Spirit. It was the most amazing healing move that people had ever seen. And when God spoke that to me, I just put it on a shelf and I thought, I don't even understand. I don't understand. And my girlfriend put the cutest picture together for my birthday. Shipra put together this beautiful picture. I wish it had it here with me. I can't believe I didn't bring it today, but maybe I'll show it on another podcast. But she put it together, and it was a beautiful peacock and a little sparrow over here. And it was so amazing to me because I was thinking, God, in our day, you want to do a peacock. That's a very show-off, showy, amazing thing. Well, I was in Israel, and as I was in a bus in Israel shortly after God spoke that to me, maybe 2 years after, the bus driver said, who here would like to know what a peacock symbolized to the Jewish mind? And I was like, oh my goodness, do I ever want to? I had a Jewish mind speak to me. And he said that it was going to be a peacock, what we would see in our day. And he compared that to Grandpa's amazing miracles just being a little sparrow. And that was so hard to grasp. And then the bus driver said, well, a peacock always symbolized resurrection life to the Jewish mind. And I'm like, oh my goodness, we are going to walk like Enoch walked. We're going to walk in resurrection life. It's what God had told me all of my life. He'd said, Cheryl, walk like Enoch walked. And he would say, Cheryl, lay down your life so that I can live through you. Let my resurrection life be your portion. And so it was pretty exciting to hear what the Jewish mind thought. So resurrection life, if we can look back at Grandpa's miracles, which were so many and so well noted throughout the world, and we look back at that and we say, okay, no, God wants to go beyond the miracles of getting out of the wheelchair, the miracles of everybody stepping out of the stretchers. In those days, those people would come out the stretchers just like R.W. Shambach said it like this. He said, it was like somebody said, will the choir please stand? And they would come out of the stretchers. And that was an amazing, really beyond imagination for those days. But what God is saying is, no. I want you all to walk in resurrection life. Anyone who will lay down their life, I want to step into them, and Christ in you is the hope of glory. So for us, I want us to get beyond our own imagination. So if you have already given your life to Jesus, then here's the question. Do you believe that he lives in you? Okay. If he lives in you, is he resurrection life? Jesus came, he died on the cross. Is what he died for to break every curse? Was the original intention that men would only live a short period and then they would die? Or was that because of sin taking over? Did Jesus die to break the power of sin, death, and hell and the grave? I believe he did. And I believe we're living in the days that we will manifest beyond imagination, that we will walk into resurrection life itself. And it's so exciting because as Moses walked and his strength was not abated him at 120, he walked that way not because he ate perfectly, not because he did all the natural things to do everything natural and have strength, but because God was his strength. Moses went to the top of the mountain. At the top of the mountain, he fasted 40 days and 40 nights, no food and no water. It wasn't a Jewish fast where he ate every night after it got dark. It was 40 days and 40 nights, no food and no water. And God showed up, and the man shone. And we should shine. We should be the shining ones. We should be the ones that are eating of him. He is resurrection life. He is bread, living bread. He is also living water. And he wants us to eat of him. He wants us to be completely consumed with who he is. And as he more and more takes over our lives, we will learn to walk in resurrection life. You know, I had a son. I still have that son. He's a doll, and I love him very much. His name is Joshua. And I had a son, and he was in a dream that I had one time. And I just want to share that dream really quickly. In the dream, we were going down to Southern California to meet with some pastors. And those pastors were people I didn't know in real life. But in the dream, we went down there to meet with these pastors. And when I met the pastors, I thought, these pastors are really only concerned with the type of car they drive, the type of purse that they carry, where they go out to eat, all the dirt world stuff that really shouldn't consume us at all. And my son had been in the streets, and he'd been very unique young man. He walked a very unique walk that I'll tell you about another time, but it may be relatable to some of you. And he was in this dream still out on the street, and he was in front of a Jack in the Box. And in front of this Jack in the Box were 4 young men. And I looked and I caught his eye. And in that dream encounter, he looked at me and he caught my eye. And I was like, oh no, my son is still out there and he doesn't have a place to go. And I was so concerned for my son. And I went to dinner and I was trying to not be so caught up with wanting to help my son, but I didn't care about the same things these pastors were caring about. I cared about the lost. And it was my own son that was just out there in the street. And I felt like he said to me, actually in the dream, he called the phone and he said, Mom, I saw that you're still disappointed in me. And I was so sad because I'm like, I'm not. I love you. I love you right where you are. I love you. You're on your journey and I love you. Well, we went back to the pastor's house after dinner and I told my husband, I said, I have to go find Josh. He's out in the street and he's somewhere and he's not okay. And my heart breaks. I want to find him. So I left the house to go find him in the middle of the night that night at maybe 10:30. And I walked out the front door of the house, and around the corner of the house was a freshly dug grave. And in that I walked over, I thought, what? That wasn't there when we just pulled in, but it was now. And I looked down into the grave, walk over to it, and there was Josh. And he had his hands behind his head like this. He had this hat on, and the shovel was in the corner of the grave, and his feet were crossed at the bottom. And he looked up out of that grave and he said, Mom, if you don't call this generation out of the grave, who is going to? And I sat straight up in bed when that happened. And it was like the voice of God to me. And it was Josh, but it was God speaking through Josh. And he said, it's time for resurrection life. God spoke to me just as I set up. It's like, it's time to walk like Enoch. It's time to walk above and beyond your imagination. It's time to walk with him through you and do the exploits like Jesus did. And it's up to us to yield ourselves fully to him. And I'm hoping and praying that many of you will take that call seriously and say, I want to go beyond my own imagination. I want to go where he wanted me to go. And that is walking in resurrection life, doing the things that Jesus did and beyond. So I bless you. Thank you for joining me. And if you have questions, want to connect at any level, the description below will have details that will be able to help you know how to connect, how to send out your questions, and we'll try to answer questions that you have. And I'm just delighted that you joined me today. And God bless. And above and beyond is where we're headed. So blessings.